Hello, BookTube. Believe it or not, I want to do another BookTube response video. I've been falling into the habit of doing this, but uh, I can't help it. When people make videos that get me thinking, I immediately want to just broaden and extend the conversation. And just today, Michael K. Vaughan made such a video. I'll leave a link to it down below, although I can't help but think that everybody watches me, watches him. He did a video on an age-old subject. Which is better, print books or ebooks? And uh, that subject has been raging forever, and people have made lots and lots of videos about the strengths and weaknesses of each one. I've made videos like that myself, mostly extolling e-reading and e-readers for a whole bunch of things. The portability, of course, speaks for itself. You have one little piece of plastic or one little slate of metal and glass, and that's all. Instead of stuffing a bag with books, you have just that. The ease of use, the ease of storage. You can have, like Michael mentions in his video, you can have 1,000 books on one device. The number of books does not increase the size of storage. That's a miracle on its own. Those of us who've had book choked living spaces for decades can't help but see that as a miracle. There's also ease of use. As I've gone on this channel, these things are easy to use. No more need for a bookmark. The book will tell you, it will open to where you last were. No need to worry about the size of margins when you're writing copious marginalia. No need to worry about that at all. No need to have any plastic tabs or anything like that. You can make extensive notes and email them out system to yourself somewhere else in your e-box. No need to worry about translation or allusion or a term that you don't understand. Just long press on it and the device will tell you what you need to know. It will give you dictionary definitions. It will do translation on the spot. It will give you a direct open page inside box to the relevant Wikipedia article so that you don't have to interrupt the reading experience for more than a second. You certainly don't have to go to some other book. It does all of that stuff, all of those things, the storage, the lightness, all that stuff, they're all just manifest superiorities. And I've had people over the years say, well, but it relies on, you have to recharge it. It relies on electricity, and a printed book doesn't. So what happens if electricity goes out? And I've had people in the last 2 decades say, well, what if the electricity goes out forever? then once your devices wind down in power, you won't have anything to read. I always wanted to tell those people, in fact, a couple of times I did, that if the electricity goes out forever, you're going to have a lot of other worries on your mind. You're not going to be thinking about whether or not your ebook library is accessible. Although, I should point out that 100 years later, when the electricity comes back on, somebody could charge up that e-reader and probably read it. Nevertheless, ebooks, the e-reading experience has all of those things and so many other strengths to it. So they come with their own light. They aren't an open invitation to every busybody a-hole on a subway to come over and comment on what you're reading because they can't tell what you're reading. They're more private. Just all that sort of stuff. They're all just manifest superiorities of e-reading over print books. But although lots of videos have been made on that subject, I'm pretty sure that Michael K. Vaughan has addressed it before. I know that I have. Although all of those subjects have come up in earlier versions of this kind of video, things have changed just a bit just recently. A couple of things have caused a few people to start questioning this age-old subject. One of those things has come up. You might have seen Micah Cummins did a video on it. There's been a glitch in Amazon's Kindle system for 2 weeks now. It's been very varied. It's been very uneven. A lot of people that Micah and I have been polling have experienced no glitch at all, whereas other people have been experiencing exactly the glitch that we have. A number of different glitches. Suddenly a problem with reading texts that are sideloaded. They come with all sorts of textual distortions. Suddenly a problem with showing you the new standard Kindle arrangement is that your sleep cover shows you the cover of the book that you're currently reading. Suddenly that stopped happening for me. It stopped happening for a whole bunch of other people. A whole bunch of people have been experiencing that is stopping and then starting again and then stopping again. I think the unevenness of that disruption comes from the fact that a lot of people's Kindles are in different stages of update. A lot of people have not updated the software on their Kindle, on their Amazon account, on their laptop. That's in various stages. All sorts of Kindles are all sorts of different models, with all sorts of different receptivity to new updates or new system changes. I think that explains the unevenness of it. I don't think there's any denying that the glitches are actually happening. And that can throw you into a tizzy. It really can. They may sound like minor things, but they can throw you into a tizzy. The latest wrinkle that I think I read just this morning in a comments field, I think somewhere, or maybe in an email, is that it looks like Amazon is contemplating the idea that only covers that are verifiably downloaded from their own ecosystem, in other words, that you're an Amazon customer who's paid for the book, will show the cover on the sleep screen, and otherwise no. And side-loaded covers won't show anymore. Nothing else will show anymore except that. And so on and so forth. Amazon is clearly fiddling with that. And that is happening. That happened to all three of my Kindles. They're all, you can see them. They're all up there on the top of those books. I tried all three of them. All three of them were acting up in that way. And I let them go for a while, and I restarted all of them, and they still kept doing it. So I just put them up on the shelf. I don't like to deal with technology that is fighting me at all. I put them up on the shelf and figured I'll give it time. I'll let this sort itself out. I can read on iPads instead. I have iPads and tablets that will do reading just fine. I don't have to do e-reading. I love it, but I don't have to do it. E-ink reading. So I sort of avoided the problem that way, and I haven't taken them down to check to see what they are or are not doing yet. But you can see why a wrinkle like that would cause a lot of people to wonder, is this really an improvement? Is this really what I often call it, a better mousetrap? I don't know. My books don't act up like that. They might be clunky and inconvenient, but they don't act up in tech ways. And they certainly aren't the remote pawn of a tech giant that can make these decisions and reach out and affect my machine. They certainly aren't that. As I've mentioned many times before, as a kind of criticism of print and paper books, they're completely static. They don't change at all. Well, that can also be a strength. They don't change at all. No one can change them. No one from, Cupertino can change the content or the appearance of any of these books on these shelves. They're all going to be this way today, tomorrow, and the next day. That was one thing that caused a lot of people to say, wait a minute. Okay, well, in the list of what's better, ebooks or printed books, I'm starting to wonder. And then there was another thing that has made the round on BookTube. You've probably heard about it. If you didn't watch any videos, you probably read about the controversy, which is that a woke social justice media scold company coerced Puffin Books and the Roald Dahl estate into changing the wording in a lot of Dahl's novels. World famous novels that have been childhood favorites to millions of readers, are now going to read different. And we're not talking about, a one word missing here or there. We're talking about passages being rewritten in order to fit one person's idea of what is acceptable and what is not right now at this moment in the 23rd century. And it's caused a lot of controversy all over the place. I have even seen some bookish people defending it or saying it's no big deal, when it's indefensible and very much a big deal. It is corporate censorship of beloved literature, warts and all. Beloved literature that is beloved, warts and all. It's someone deciding, I don't want anyone to be able to read this the way I read it. That's a big deal. And that's not just, the way things are or the way things have always been. That does not deserve a blasé or a bored response. That is serious. I've even seen some readers taking that kind of bored or blasé response, but most readers, and I would say most readers off BookTube as well, most people out in the real world who are just encountering this as a story in a newspaper, are outraged. This is an outrageous overreach by woke scoldery, going in and changing the new editions of these books. But the way it affects this discussion, printed books versus ebooks, is a point that's been brought up in a couple of different places online that I've seen, which is that sure, your old copies of Roald Dahl novels that are, on your kids' bookshelf of your collection, they aren't going to change at all. They're like these books. They are completely static. But the ebooks of all of those books are going to change. They're easy to change. And as Michael points out in his video, and Troy Tradup also mentioned this in a video of his, that change will be retroactive. Michael mentions the noxious example of Frank Herbert's novel Dune, which he bought he downloaded it from Amazon a long time ago, had it right there in his Amazon library. And when the Denis Villeneuve movie came out and the movie cover was suddenly the cover on the mass market paperback, that cover on the ebook he'd already bought changed to the movie cover, which he does not want and which he did not buy. uh, that point is easily extendable to these doll novels. They will all be changed. And it's not just that if you download a copy of Matilda or whatever, it will be the new censored version. It's that the changes will happen to your old version, the version you've already downloaded from Amazon. Amazon has the power to go in and change that, to reissue that text, to revamp it on your download, which reinforces the ambivalence towards ebooks, at least in the Amazon system, that people have had since it started, since Amazon rather famously, infamously, recalled an electronic copy of 1984. And suddenly millions of people who had bought into this whole idea of having an e-reader realized that they don't have control of what's on the device. Someone, a corporation, can reach into their device and remove something. Well, that corporation can also reach into your device and change things as well. In his video, Michael K. Vaughan holds up a 19th century copy of a book and says, it might be clunky, it might be inconvenient, it might be heavy, it might take up shelf space, but no one can come in and change this. This is the way it is now. And no fad or whim is going to be able to do anything about it. Not going to change the way it looks, not going to change the way the words are arranged inside the book. And those two new developments, the Amazon glitch that has been reported by thousands and thousands of Kindle readers, and that decision on the part of Puffin Books to change Roald Dahl's novels, to censor them. Those two things have a lot of people asking this age-old question all over again. Well, this whole e-reading thing, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, keep in mind, the Amazon Kindle glitch affects even side-loaded material that never came through Amazon. Suddenly there's a problem there, and I hadn't realized that fully. Of course, it is within Amazon's power to change the software of the Kindle reading program so that it doesn't read side-loaded material. So that it's a little wonky now, but Amazon well has the ability to forbid it so that, we can detect if it's side-loaded and it won't read on this device if it is. That's scary. And also a little bit of a wake-up call. Both of these things are a little bit of a wake-up call. So I'm putting my 2 cents worth in that once upon a time, my needle, when it came to which is better, ebooks or printed books, once upon a time my needle was almost all the way in the ebook camp, and it's wavering a little. I'm perfectly willing to admit that, and I'm wondering if the same thing is true with you. Are you seeing these stories and thinking, well, faults or no faults, my books don't ever change, and they're mine. They're not anybody else's. Nobody can do anything about them. I can go back to them, and they'll always be there. I'm wondering if you're thinking that now. I'm starting to think a little bit more along those lines myself, even though I love e-reading. Absolutely love it. And loving e-reading the way I do has really highlighted how awkward print reading is. It's just such an awkward experience. It's so ungainly that it does nothing except present you with the words on the page if you do everything else. Whereas e-reading in its ideal form anyway, Michael K. Vaughan makes a good point in his video that this could be better. All this technology, we need not be having any of these discussions. This could all be better, but it's not, and it's not likely to be. I'm now wondering if maybe the trade-off for all that clunkiness in the print and paper books is worth it. Ultimately, maybe it's worth it. Maybe I should hold on to all of these things. So I'm wondering what you think. Those of you who are confirmed print and paper book only people must be feeling pretty smug this week, I would think. I'd love to hear about it. I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you.